Made up of three things. The first thing, it's made up of cells made by the bone marrow. Cells made by the bone marrow. The second thing, it's made up of something called plasma. And the third thing, it's made up of blood vessels. So veins, arteries, just the tubes by which blood flows through. Okay, so first thing, bone marrow. So inside of every single one of our bones, we have a substance called bone marrow. It's this spongy substance inside of all of our bones. And if we were to zoom in, to this bone marrow, we'd find a particular type of cell. And this cell is called a hematopoietic stem cell. That was like my favorite word in college. Hematopoietic, a bone marrow stem cell. So, as you saw in the video, these stem cells give rise to other types of cells. And in this case, it gives rise to all of the cell types in the blood. Okay, so this one cell can become a bunch of different types. Okay. So this is called a somatic stem cell. It's not an embryonic, it's a somatic stem cell. And it's multipotent, meaning it can become a variety of cell types, but not all cell types like an embryonic stem cell. Okay. So if we take a look at what this cell does. So this hematopoietic stem cell, one thing it can do, it can continually regenerate. So it can just make copies of itself like any other cell. So it regenerates by mitosis. But then, what can also happen is that it can differentiate, or also known as specialize. So it can become specialized. And the three major cell types that it can become, one, we've heard before, are white blood cells. Two are red blood cells. And three are platelets. Those are the three major categories. Their major functions: white blood cells, they fight and remember pathogens. They fight and remember pathogens. Red blood cells, they carry oxygen and carbon dioxide. And platelets, they help form clots, blood clots. So other names that you'll see for these white blood cells are called leukocytes and lymphocytes. So they're also known as leukocytes and lymphocytes. Red blood cells are known as erythrocytes. And platelets are just known as platelets. They don't have a fancy name. Okay. And if you want to write a note to yourself, red blood cells, they don't have DNA, but the other ones do. Okay. So that is the types of cells that are produced by the bone marrow. The second thing the circulatory system is made up of is something called plasma. So, let me zoom out here. We're going to draw a big tube. This is going to represent a blood vessel. So a vein or an artery, blood vessel. And if you were to actually take a cross-section of a blood vessel, what you would see is something like this. As you'd see cells arranged in like a tube. All right, so these are cells that are arranged in a tube to create a blood vessel. Okay, so plasma can be any color. Plasma is the liquid of the blood, so it's the major component of the blood. So we call this plasma. It's made of three things. 1, water. 2, salts, like we saw in our cystic fibrosis case study. So sodium or chloride. And it's made up of proteins. And a lot of these proteins are made by the liver. Okay. So the blood is plasma, white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets. What you can do, I'm going to use pink to represent my red blood cells. You can use whatever color you like. White blood cells are going to be gray, and platelets will be green. And you can kind of throw these all over. Okay. So that's the circulatory system. We're going to talk more about this in the coming days. Once you have that set up, you can pack up. And remember that the only thing you have to do for homework tonight is focus. The research, right? The research activity. I'll put this on Schoology as well as the video.